This story was sent in by a college student named Rayan. He lived alone, in a small off-campus apartment, a studio tucked away on the third floor of an old creaking building. Most nights, it felt safe, quiet, ordinary. But one night, everything changed. It was around 2:30 a.m. when Rayan woke up. At first, he thought it was just part of a dream, a faint, deliberate sound of someone knocking at his door. 3 knocks, slow, hollow, echoing in the silence of the night. Tock, tock, tock. Rayan lay frozen in bed, staring up at the ceiling. His throat was dry, his skin prickling. He told himself to ignore it. Maybe it was someone at the wrong door, maybe a drunk neighbor. But then, 3 more knocks. This time, louder, more insistent. Rayan's chest tightened. His heart hammered so violently he thought it might burst. He reached for his phone. No messages, no calls. The screen was blank. The knocking continued. Always 3. Always slow. Like a ritual. Tock, tock, tock. Gathering what little courage he had, Rayan slid out of bed. The floorboards groaned under his bare feet as he crept toward the door. The apartment was so small. Just a handful of steps separated him from the entryway. He pressed his ear to the wood. Silence. For a moment he thought, maybe it was over. Maybe whoever it was had gone. But then, from the other side of the door, a voice. "Let me in." Rayan stumbled backward. His blood ran cold. The voice was low, broken, almost like a growl. He forced himself to speak, though his voice cracked. Who's there?" Silence. Then, after a long pause, the same words again. Slower, heavier. "Let me in." His stomach churned. Something about the voice was wrong. It didn't sound human. It was layered, distorted, like 2 voices speaking over each other. The knocking returned, violent this time. Bang, bang, bang. The entire door shook in its frame, and then the voice roared, "Let me in." Rayan fumbled for his phone, hands trembling, but the screen glitched. The battery drained before his eyes. From nearly full to 0. Dead. The air grew cold. His breath fogged. And then, silence. Rayan didn't move for what felt like hours. His muscles burned from staying rigid, his eyes locked on the door. Finally, when exhaustion overtook him, he collapsed back into bed. When he woke the next morning, sunlight pouring in through the blinds, everything looked normal. Too normal, except for one thing. On the inside of his door, facing him, were 3 long scratches, deep, jagged, carved into the wood. He hadn't put them there, and the landlord swore no one had come inside. That night, Rayan refused to sleep. He sat upright in bed, clutching a kitchen knife, the lamp burning. At exactly 2:30 a.m., the knocking began again. 3 knocks. Tuck, tuck, tuck. His lips trembled as he whispered to himself, "Don't answer, don't answer." But then, the voice. Closer. Harsher, as though it wasn't coming from the hallway anymore. "Let me in." Rayan's grip on the knife weakened. His chest ached. And when he turned his head, just slightly, he saw it. In the far corner of his room, a figure. Tall. Thin. Its body crooked at impossible angles. Skin stretched tight over bone. And where its face should have been, only darkness. Even without eyes, Rayan knew. It was watching him. The voice came again. But not from the door. Not from outside. From inside the room. "I'm already in." The light above flickered. Buzzed. For 1 split second, the room went black. When the light steadied, the figure was gone. But on the door, new scratches. Deeper. Raw. Still bleeding into the wood. Rayan hasn't slept properly since. He refuses to stay in that apartment past midnight. And the only time he ever spoke about it was when he told me. The way his voice shook, the way his eyes darted to the corners of the room as he whispered. I believe him. Because whatever he saw, It didn't need permission to come inside. It was already there. I was 19 when it first happened. I had just moved into a small basement apartment. Cheap rent, quiet street. It seemed perfect. But there was something about that place. Something too quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't comfort you. The kind that makes you feel like someone else is listening. The first week was uneventful. I worked, came home, ate dinner, and went to bed. But on the 7th night, everything changed. I woke up. At first, I thought it was just another dream. But when I tried to sit up, I couldn't move. My chest felt heavy, like something pressed down on me. My arms, dead weight. My legs, useless. I realized slowly that I was awake, but trapped inside my own body. And then, I saw him, in the corner of my room. A shape. Tall. Impossibly tall. Motionless. At first I thought it was a shadow, maybe a trick of my tired eyes, but no. The shadow had shoulders, a head, arms, and though I couldn't see his face, I could feel it. He was looking at me, studying me, like he had been waiting. My eyes darted, desperate to find something normal to focus on. The desk, the chair, the lamp by the wall. But no matter where I looked, my gaze always pulled back to him. The man, standing there, watching. I tried to scream, tried to force air out of my throat. But only silence came. My lungs burned. My heart pounded so violently I thought it would burst. And then, he moved. Not like a person moves. Not with natural steps. It was more like he blinked into place. 1 second he was in the corner. The next, at the foot of my bed. Closer. Always closer. My eyes slammed shut. When I opened them again, he was leaning forward so close I could feel his breath. Cold. Damp. It slid across my cheek like the air from an open grave. And just when I thought he would touch me, I woke up. I gasped, chest heaving, drenched in sweat. The room was empty. The corner was bare. I told myself it was just a nightmare, sleep paralysis, a trick of my exhausted mind. But that wasn't the end, because the next night, when the silence settled in again and I closed my eyes, I felt it. That same crushing weight, that same prison of stillness. And when my eyes opened, he was there, in the same corner, waiting. And every night after that, he kept coming back. Sometimes he stayed in the shadows. Sometimes he came close enough for me to feel him hovering above me. And once, just once, I swear I felt a hand brush against my ankle. I don't know what he wants. I don't know why he chose me. But I do know this. If you ever wake up in the dead of night, unable to move, and you see someone in the corner, don't blink. Don't shut your eyes. Because when you open them again, he'll be closer. And one night he won't stop at the corner, or the foot of your bed, or your cheek. One night, he'll climb into the bed with you. This story was told to me by a girl named Sarah. She worked overnight shifts at a hospital. By the time she got home, it was usually close to dawn. She lived alone, in a small apartment. Most nights, she collapsed into bed the second she walked through the door. Exhaustion pulled her under so fast she barely remembered falling asleep. But one night, she woke up. Her eyes snapped open suddenly. Yet her body refused to move. Her arms felt pinned, her chest locked in place. She tried to lift her head. Nothing. She tried to scream. Nothing. The only thing she could move were her eyes. At first, she stared up at the ceiling, telling herself it was just sleep paralysis, it would pass. It always did. But then, she heard it. A faint sound, scraping across the floorboards. Slow, dragging, like long nails pulling against the wood. Her eyes strained toward the corner of the room. That's when she saw movement. Something was crawling across the floor. It was a woman, But not just any woman, an old woman. Her back hunched unnaturally, her bones jutting against paper-thin skin. She moved on her hands and knees, pulling herself forward with jerky, inhuman motions. And those fingernails, yellowed, long, sharp as claws. Each scrape of them against the floor echoed in Sarah's skull. The woman inched closer, her face hidden beneath tangled strands of white hair. But Sarah swore she could feel her eyes, cold, hungry, locked on her. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Her heart raced, slamming against her chest like it was trying to escape. The old woman crawled all the way to the bed and then, slowly creaking, she began to climb. Sarah felt the mattress sink, felt the sheets tighten as the weight pressed down. The old woman's hair brushed against her face, rough and brittle. And then came the whisper. Low, sharp, like glass dragged across metal. Words Sarah couldn't understand. Words not meant for human ears. The old woman leaned closer, her rotting breath spilling across Sarah's skin. It smelled of damp soil, mildew, and something far worse. Decay. Sarah wanted to scream, to thrash, to run, but she couldn't. She was frozen, trapped inside her body, forced to feel every detail. The whispering grew louder, harsher, until it felt like knives carving into her mind. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. Sarah's body jolted awake. She shot up, gasping for air. Her room was silent again, empty, the corner bare. She sat there for minutes, clutching the sheets, telling herself it was only sleep paralysis, just her brain playing tricks. But when she finally looked down at the bed, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The sheets were torn. Thin scratch marks trailed across the fabric, exactly where the old woman's hands had been. She never forgot that night. And sometimes, when Sarah works a long shift and comes home exhausted, she swears she hears it again, that faint scraping sound from somewhere in the dark.